adventure into the unknown, diving deep into the mysteries of the cosmos, searching for the truth behind alien encounters, Bigfoot sightings, and all things paranormal. Prepare yourself for a journey beyond the ordinary, into the world where dreams become reality and the night holds secrets waiting to be discovered.
Welcome to Night Dreams Talk Radio with the legendary Gary Anderson. From UFOs to Bigfoot and everything in between, we explore the strange, mysterious, and the unexplained. Join us for one of the fastest growing shows in the world of the unknown.
Who's friends with all the night dreamers, talking to you at night? Gary on the radio, but maybe he's not in sight. Bigfoot's on his tail, flying UFOs, that's right. Gary's Talk Show Radio, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday nights. If you need a friend to talk to, he will always be there. The Night Dreamers Talk Show will fix your despair. If you want to talk conspiracies, Night Dreamers is for you. Top secret case, alien space, it's Gary with the news. Tune in on the radio, don't let Big Brother know. They're listening to everything, even Gary's late night show. If you need a friend to talk to, he will always be there. The Night Show Dreamers Talk Show will fix your despair, because Gary's talking to you at night.
Hi, this is Val Von Torn of Metatron Power and Light. You're listening to Gary Anderson and Night Dreams Talk Radio.
Well, here it is, another night and another mystery tonight on Night Dreams Talk Radio. You know, every great mystery started out with a question. Tonight, we just don't ask questions. We seek the impossible, the unimaginable, as we walk where the legends say only the brave go. So sit tight and peel back that curtain, because we're both going to look for that unknown right here on Night Dreams Talk Radio. But first, here's Guy with the news.
Now, the latest news from the Night Dreams Talk Radio Network Newsroom. I'm Guy Ticker. Dateline, Salt Lake City. Are there extraterrestrial beings or paranormal activity in the state of Utah? Well, the U.S. Department of Defense might have an answer. Might. A recently declassified document from the Old Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, which is part of the DoD, mentioned unidentified anomalous phenomenon and included a section of Utah. I'm Guy Ticker. The news is brought to you by Night Dreams Talk Radio Network. To submit a story or to get all the latest news, go to nightdreamstalkradio.com. Take a journey of adventure and discovery for the enigmatic giants of the forests. Read On the Trail of Bigfoot by Mike Dupler. The author himself describes it this way. Having found possible Sasquatch evidence, namely trees driven into the ground upside down, thought to be territory markers, led me to investigate this creature in my native Ohio. Several years and many forays into Bigfoot territory, I have found incredible evidence, which inspired my book, On the Trail of Bigfoot. Bigfoot is alive and has many fantastic abilities. The evidence is out there for all to see, but you need to know what to look for. My book will inspire those who have answered the call to seek this elusive creature, the Bigfoot. The truth is out there. Read On the Trail of Bigfoot by Mike Dupler. Available now at Amazon.com, BarnesandNoble.com, and IndieBound.org. You are listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio Network, the home of Night Dreams Talk Radio. with Gary Anderson. Syndicated worldwide. Paranormal Talk Radio, like you remember.
Well, it's the 6th of November already. JC, the time is just going by so freaking fast, isn't it?
It is going by fast, and to make it even worse, the days are a lot shorter now, so it's like dark way too early.
I know. Well, I tell you what, though, it gets lighter earlier.
Well, that's what they say, but I swear it's still dark when I get up, too.
I know. It's a day past D-Day, and I'll tell you what, we're still here.
Yes, that's right. Boy, that was a big day, too. Correct.
Well, all over TikTok, there's rumors that NASA was going to come out about this massive object above the space station. That is huge. And they were going to come out and tell the American public, but then at the last moment, supposedly, as the rumor goes, that they decided not to.
Yeah, that makes me scratch my head even more. So was there really something there and they didn't want to come forward, or was it just all hearsay?
Well, you never know. I mean, let's be honest with you. Do you believe everything on TikTok?
No, you mean all the time travelers from the year 3600 that use Polaroid film?
Yeah, I always imagine, if they're back from the future, right, coming back here.
Yeah.
I mean, why aren't they using holograms? I mean, digital is going to be way out. They would be just creating holograms and saying, hey, look. But no, here's a picture from a Polaroid camera that I took.
Yeah, that's like what was it, John Titor or whatever. He had
Tater.
He had to go back to 75 to get one of them Commodore parts or something from a Commodore. Remember that?
I remember the Commodore computers. And then the VIC came out. 4K. That still had more memory than the capsules had when we went to the moon.
Yeah, how about that one?
If we went to the moon. I'm still getting flack from that show. A lot of people saying, well, we went to the moon. Then I got about equal amount of people saying, we never went.
Yeah. Boy, if you're ever in any group and you want to get kicked out, just say, we didn't go to the moon. I get kicked out.
I know we went to the moon because I used to watch Jackie Gleason's show when I was a kid.
Oh.
And every time he would get mad at Alice, he'd say, one of these days, pow, right on the old kisser to the moon. So I know we have gone to the moon, or somebody has.
Well, Alice probably made a lot of round trips, according to him.
Oh, yeah. So anything exciting happened to you today?
Sometimes the best exciting thing is when nothing exciting happens. You know what I'm saying, Gary? Sometimes that's a good thing.
Well, I really like the new time of the show. You know that.
I know you do. I know. Yeah, we're back to our fall, winter hours.
Yeah, I actually had dinner for a change. I'm not talking about a dinner. It's 2 hours cold. I'm talking it was actually hot.
Did it come in a little box?
Yeah, it said banquet.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah. So we got a great show tonight. We got a great guest. We're going to be talking about, the Bradshaw Ranch. We're going to be talking about Bigfoot. We're going to be talking about UFOs and other paranormal things with our guests. But first, let's do this, and then we can come back, and I'll give you some information about our guests. So we'll be right back.
Available now. Bigfoot Origins, The Search for the Cryptid Homeland by Mike Dupler. This is the most comprehensive and in-depth examination of Bigfoot ever written. How did Bigfoot in North America, the Yowie in Australia, and the Woodwoes, Britain's Bigfoot, get to where they are today? Mike Dupler connects the dots, and the conclusions are incredible. This changes everything. Don't be left out in the woods, in the cold, not knowing. Read Bigfoot Origins, The Search for the Cryptid Homeland by Mike Dupler. Available now on Amazon.
Well, JC, are you ready to go for a ride?
I am. I've got my jacket and we got a full tank of gas. We're good to go.
Well, you got bear spray.
Oh, now I got a 3-inch jackknife.
Oh, that's going to really protect you, isn't it? Well,
Yeah.
let's find out some information about Ronald. So here it is.
Ronald Meyer owns a film production company, Setter Communications. He has produced and directed feature films, including the first feature film for Discovery Communications, Legend of the Spirit Dog. He's the author of 2 novels with Mark Reeder and 2 other novels, the latest being Aliens 2035, The End of Technology. Ron leads flow workshops and is a 5th black belt in Aikido. Recently, he produced the #1 streaming documentary series on Amazon Prime about serial killers. As a follow-up to the highly successful Amazon Prime series Chasing Bigfoot, he's produced an award-winning documentary feature called The Bigfoot Alien Connection Revealed. The movie has garnered over 7 million views on many streaming platforms. New movies released in 2022, The Paranormal Mind, Lifting the Veil to a Greater Reality, Alien Contact in the Rockies, and Aliens and Nukes, The Mario Woods Story. Ron started collecting fossils at the early age of 14. Since then, he and his collecting buddy, Gerald O Gunderson, discovered 3 of the world's soft-bodied sites, including the Brandon Bridge fauna. He has 2 ancient species named after him, and has co-authored multiple paleontological peer-reviewed papers. He lives in Louisville, Colorado.
Well, Ron, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing okay.
Well, you've been a very busy guy. I mean, I got to ask you a question. Were you a young kid? Were you interested in the paranormal, UFOs, Bigfoot, things like that?
Well, I was so young, I don't think anybody knew anything about Bigfoot, but I was obsessed with flying saucers, astronomy, science fiction.
Did you ever see a UFO?
I had an experience. I built myself a 6-inch telescope, and I put it on my parents' garage on a platform. And one night, a light came towards me, a bright light, an amorphous light, and that might have been something. I called a buddy of mine who shared interests. I said, "Did you see anything?" And no. So that was probably the closest thing I ever had in my youth to anything that might be odd and coming out of the sky.
A lot of people claimed, when they were a child, that they were abducted, and then it continued on their whole life. Again, I don't know what's going on. Have you ever done any research about this phenomenon? What's going on with people being abducted?
Well, in my latest movie, we had the opportunity to go to Board Camp Crystal Mine in Arkansas, and we know the people that own it, and they had an experience where 3 beams of light showed up, which was transformational for them. And they had a place called the event site where strange things happened. Poles got magnetized. And then in December of last year, they were participating in a worldwide meditation with indigenous people. And on that site there, the event site, that white light showed up again. And the 2 men that were tending the fire and doing the drumming went into the light, and they were abducted. And it's all captured on security cams. They were dropped off in different places from where they originated, and they kind of staggered back, and that's captured on another trail cam and a security cam. And we have all that footage, and it's been put together. And when I asked them what was it like, their experiences, it was very similar to near-death experiences. People who have near-death experiences talk about going into the light, not feeling, losing a physical sense of body, being free of fear. And so, yeah, in our new movie, you'll see all that.
Did you have a chance to interview him? I mean, because what I'm concerned about, wherever they were taken, did they remember much? I mean, were they like, did they see their past loved ones, or were they taken aboard a craft, or what was involved?
One described being in sort of a tunnel of flashing pretty red lights and kind of like floating, and he could look down and see his body. And the other man, he had an experience of seeing what he described as kind of skinny human-like entities. And when he looked down, there was like a spaghetti of lights down below. And when he looked up, there was an expansive sky of stars. And one of these beings touched his arm and said, "You're not supposed to be here." And that was the end of his experience.
Very interesting. What do you think is going on on this? Are we being abducted by ETs, or is this something like a parallel universe that is being opened up, or something else? What do you think?
I think it's a kind of communication that we're embedded in something that's a greater reality, and it's trying to poke us along in some way. That's my sense. I mean, that's just a feeling I have, because I've had a number of these kinds of experiences, and generally they're basically impossible and unexplainable by typical scientific practices or concepts. So there's something beyond our usual frame of reference or worldviews. But I'm kind of baffled by it. But they're very diverse. There are many different kinds of these things, and more people are coming forward and telling their stories of their own experiences now that it's become more acceptable to talk about them.
Well, it has, and some scientists say that we're not even flesh and blood, that we're some type of civilization in some way or form or something. I don't really know. It's really confusing because my two granddaughters are, one is Muckleshoot into the tribe, the other one's Nisqually tribe, and they talk about things like this, like different realms that they see loved ones and they see all this stuff. It's rather interesting.
Yeah, I think those people who have near-death experiences report phenomena like that, but they're always kind of filtered with, what knowledge they have, the culture they're in, and so they're always slightly different, through a sort of filter.
So,
because the common thing is they say, well, I can't put words to it. When I was experiencing these things, there were no words, there was no emotions, the normal things that would allow them to communicate with whatever. And then when you come back, you try and tell somebody about it, and you use the frameworks that you kind of know about. One thing about near-death experiences is that nobody ever reports of going to hell.
Well, maybe we are in hell, Ron.
Oh,
so then the other is heaven. I don't know. But again, it's interesting, that I don't want to find out. I want to be one of the people that never die, but I don't think that's going to happen. But a good friend of mine, Art Bell, was at one point so worried about when he dies, do you step into the light or to the darkness? And another friend of ours, John Lear, told him that you don't want to go into the light, you want to go into the darkness because light is a trick. I don't know. What's your feeling on that one?
So I've had two experiences of the black light or the void during a couple of retreats.
What was that like?
There's no boundary, there's nothing, but there's infinite potential. And I'm using words here now that trying to communicate something that's not communicatable. But it's pretty clear that when I say I, that no need to be fear of death. I think we all share that and just don't have access to it most of the time.
I don't know. I want to die in my sleep. I don't want to find out. I do fear death. I mean, I'll be honest with you. When you're young, like, a kid, you kind of get worried about that at a certain age. Then when you get a certain age, like in your, teenager, all the way up to you're like in your 40s, you don't think about death at all. And then when you get into your later 50s, you start thinking like, well, what is death? And then it's on your mind a lot, at least it is for me. I don't know about you.
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm old like you. And,
I'm not old.
Okay.
I'm not old. I'm only 27.
Oh,
I come to
like
conclusion.
Jim.
I come to conclusion if you reverse your numbers, depending on how old you are, you can actually make yourself younger. I'm going on 73. I'm 72. If I reverse it, I'm 27.
So through meditative practices, maybe psychedelic drugs and ultra state experiences, maybe coming even from an experience with Bigfoot, you can get a sense of the oneness from which this is my own philosophy at the moment, from which we all share and are.
Have you ever used peyote? Have you ever been in where you could experience it at all?
Not with, I mean, I did when I was a kid, I did, LSD, but for me, it wasn't all that extraordinary, but not since then.
Yeah, some of that stuff, it supposedly opens your mind up and stuff like that. Again, because of my granddaughters with the various two tribes, I tried it one time, and it does cause you to really open up your thoughts. But I don't know. It's something that's not for me. Now, what got you into making documentary filming, and how old were you when you got interested in doing something like that, Ron?
Are you talking about documentary filmmaking?
Yeah, what got you into it?
Is it about the paranormal?
Well, what got you first into wanting to pick up a camera and make documentaries? What got you into that?
I was doing research at a behavioral cybernetics lab. This was back in the 70s. And, basic scientific research with peer-reviewed papers. And I was at the University of Wisconsin. And they were starting Wisconsin Public Television and Radio, and the head of the department, of that agency, came down to our lab and said, "Hey, anybody any ideas to make any kind of films or radio programs for our series of Step Forward?" And I thought, well, Jesus. And somehow I just knew how to do it, kind of like in a savant way. And it occurred to me, well, you mean I could make movies where maybe millions of people would see it and there's no peer review? I thought that sounds good. And somehow I just knew how to do it. And I, like everybody else, I made a lot of documentaries, worked in the public television system for a while, did feature films, Christmas stories, horror films, coming of age. And then eventually I started doing educational videos, which was, kind of fun, and doing entertainment documentary series, which is, led me to the one that became Chasing Bigfoot.
Interesting. Now, you actually said you made horror movies and stuff like that. Usually it's the other way around. People start out making documentaries and then go into making feature movies, or horror movies or whatever. You kind of did the opposite.
Not really. I did documentaries first. I acquired a distribution company and became a player in the growth of cable television. And then, like everybody else, I wanted to make feature films. That's in the business. And then when I kind of got that out of my system, then I turned to going back to documentary style material.
Well, one of the ones you did was the Bradshaw Ranch. How did you get involved with that?
So, can I tell you a story?
Please do.
A couple of things changed my direction. So back in originally when I was, doing stuff for Discovery, I had a distribution company and supplying programs to them. I had the opportunity to go to China with a group of a string quartet, a sort of an exchange, which was kind of weird, but anyhow, we had and I was in Boulder, Colorado, which has a big Buddhist community, and there was some connection there. And it was very mysterious how this all happened, but I got the money from Discovery to do their first documentary, which became Discovering China and Tibet. And we traveled around China. It was terrible. In many ways, it was very primitive. Everybody got sick all the time. But one evening, we were near a Taoist temple, and I had a dream. And in that dream, I understood everything. I just knew everything in a way that was, beyond anything else. I just knew it. And there was a man there who was kind of like the guide. And when I woke up, I was thrilled, but it quickly faded, like a dream. And so maybe, 2 more weeks into our trip, our last place was going to be Tibet, which hardly had ever seen any white people. And we were going to fly out of Chengdu, and when I came down for breakfast, they said, "There's another American here. Would you like to have breakfast with him?" And I said, "Okay." It turned out to be Jimmy Carter. Do you know who he is? Remember him?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Ex-president. So
yeah.
We flew on the one flight from Chengdu to Lhasa. And he helped us, get into some things, places. So we went to the Jokan, which is the most sacred of places for Tibetan Buddhism. And when we entered, there was the man in my dreams. And he immediately was there, ready to welcome me, took me aside, said I was a Lama too, showed me what he said were the bones of Siddhartha, Buddha himself, and then said, through an interpreter, of course, you got to save Tibet.
What was Tibet like? I just out of curiosity, Ron.
Was very high up in altitude. Unfortunately, we are from Boulder, so it didn't affect us too much. It was very colorful. There were a lot of people. They were Chinese. They were trying to kill everybody. They didn't like the Tibetans, but they couldn't reproduce there, so it was a problem for them because of the altitude. Lhasa, the city itself, had enormous catacombs underneath it where people would hide, and we actually met a couple lamas down in the catacombs and had connections to the Dalai Lama and so on.
Wow.
And we went out to the countryside, and it was quite beautiful. So turns out that one of the programs I did for public television was on a couple of ornithologists who decided to try and save the cranes of the world, these magnificent birds.
Oh, yeah.
We have 2 species here, but there are multiple species around the country. But turns out there's a non-migratory species in Tibet called the black-necked crane, and they had no access to it and didn't know its status in terms of what was going on with it, but they suspected that it was endangered and the Chinese were killing them to eat them or something. So, and when they asked the Chinese people, could we go and see what's going on, they said, no, that's an autonomous problem. You have to get an invite. And before I went to China, I was talking to one of the principals, George Archibald, and he said, well, if you he told me the story that maybe you can get an invite for us so we can get in. So after this Lama said, I have to save Tibet, it occurred to me that I got to find somebody to get them to invite these bird guys. So I ran around Lhasa with a little help from Jimmy Carter. I found somebody that would probably qualify as the mayor of Lhasa. And it turns out that they were able to get an invite to the International Crane Foundation, and they got in and had eyes on what was going on there, and more people began to kind of flow into it. And so it was kind of like, that's how I saved Tibet.
Oh, wow. Now, hey, Ron, we
Now
need...
that is secrets of event. It's impossible, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, if you wouldn't have met Jimmy Carter, too. I mean, let's be honest there. Okay, we need to take a break. It's about 3 minutes long, and when we get back, we'll be back with Ron, and we'll find out about the Bradshaw Ranch and UFOs, ETs, Bigfoot, and a lot of paranormal stuff. So stay tuned. You're listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio. We'll be right back.
Slow to speak, quick to listen, slow to anger, rich in love. Humble myself, pick up my cross now, follow after Jesus Christ, yeah, Jesus Christ. The unifier, Jesus Christ, the Prince of Peace, Jesus Christ, our only answer, Jesus Christ, we're all I need. Above all, love one another deeply. Love your God with all your heart, mind, and soul. Above all, love one another deeply.
Time slips. A haunted office building on a haunted street. A haunted coal town. Mysterious black cats. Unexplained light anomalies. UFOs, UAPs in the air and on the ground. Bridges in liminal spaces. Cryptids, shamans, and a werewolf. Disclosure: you don't need a ranch in Utah. All this and more happens in rural southwestern Pennsylvania. Coming soon from Haunted Hills and Hollows 1 and 2 author Kevin Paul, Politics and the Paranormal in Greene County, Pennsylvania. Available this fall on Amazon and at other fine booksellers. Coming to you live and covering all time zones like a glove. Here's Gary Anderson on Night Dreams Talk Radio.
You're listening to my friend Gary Anderson on Night Dreams Talk Radio, the best in paranormal radio.
Well, thank you, John. Now we're back with Ron. Again, you filmed and been in some places that, like Skinwalker Ranch, but you were at a place that's very similar to that, weren't you? Called Bradshaw Ranch. What can you tell us about that one?
Up to the experience in China is that when I started investigating near-death experiences, that thing where I knew everything, perfectly, is often described as the room of all knowledge. So many people have had that experiences along with the losing it, and that made changes for me in how I function and how my life unfolded after that, particularly with regard to synchronicities. Are you familiar with synchronicities?
Oh, yes.
Do you think your audience needs a little definition?
Everybody has a different definition of it. What is your definition of it?
So it's based on the concept of that there's a mental world and there's a physical world, but they're all joined into one. Behind it, there's a oneness behind it, so that events occur in the physical world have meaning in the mental world, and I've had many of these things, and I follow them now. So this is how I got to Bradshaw Ranch, is that I was doing a follow-up movie to the Bigfoot Alien Connection Reveal, and I needed to end with an investigation besides just interviewing people and exploring what Bigfoot's about today and how UFOs and UAPs and all that stuff. And I wanted to do a Bigfoot site it was in Ohio, but it was the time of season when hunting was going on, and the person who was going to be our host said, it's too dangerous. So I was kind of desperate to get another location to do an investigation. And I woke up the next morning after I was told that we could not go to Ohio. And the first thing in my news feed was something about the vortexes of Sedona, Arizona. So there's the physical event. The mental event was, oh, maybe that's the place we should go. I mean, if I had gotten that, say, 4 days earlier or 5 days earlier, it probably wouldn't have meant anything to me, but all of a sudden it meant everything. And it didn't take long through a series of conversations with people that led me to a guy who was the guy who originally did the investigations on Bradshaw Ranch in the 90s with Linda Bradshaw. He put me in touch with a young guy who was he was mentoring and was spending a lot of time out at Bradshaw Ranch, and we arranged to meet him and come out there, and we decided we'll do our investigation there at Bradshaw Ranch. And the ranch itself is quite large. There's multiple buildings. There's a main house. There's an old adobe house, which is the original house. So in many ways, it's structured a lot like Skinwalker Ranch. It was also a set for old westerns back in the day with guys like John Wayne and Elvis Presley. And strangely enough, it was bought by the U.S. government, Energy Department, for research on environmental change to native species, which seems kind of weird, since most of the native species had been, eradicated a long time ago in favor of, a ranching setup. And at the time, which was like 4 years ago now, the way you got in was you crawled underneath the fence. But it's government property. We kind of own it. And that's what we did the first time we went there. And everybody felt quite good there, unlike Skinwalker Ranch, where there's a lot of negative feelings about being there. People have gotten sick, and all that. And if you talk to some of the people at Skinwalker Ranch, which I've done, they'll tell you that it hasn't been a pleasant experience a lot of time. And the original owner, Bigelow, he sold it because he was bringing home some weird things called the hitchhiker effect. Are you familiar with that?
Oh, yeah. And, again, you mentioned the people with the Skinwalker Ranch, too, because I've interviewed people through the years. I've been doing interviewing, by the way, for almost 55 years, and these type of subjects. And a lot of people told me that they got really physical ill, or they just felt nauseous, all the way to developing major migraines and a whole bunch of stuff, including memory loss. That's what I heard about Skinwalker Ranch.
That's all true. But there's a different feeling at Bradshaw Ranch. It's kind of welcoming. And our initial investigation, we were using, kind of ghost hunting stuff, just to see if we could make some sort of connection, and perhaps with, the spirits of the original owners, and the indication we got is that, they're not in play here. But we kept asking, are you aware of us? And the answer we got was yes, which is pretty much what Tom Dongo and Linda Bradshaw said was the case, that these were, whatever was there, whatever the phenomenon was, clearly aware of them.
Interesting.
And, so we were doing an investigation in the, well, there are a lot of prints around there, and some of them could easily, we could be regarded as Bigfoot footprints. They're just hundreds of them. They're strange things that look like birds, dinosaur prints, and we were able to document them, film them, and we were doing an investigation in the Adobe house. My son-in-law, who's a bit of a psychic, has been a Bigfooter for a long time, was part of the BFRO and knows Moneymaker and the whole gang. Has wanted to see one. And when we interviewed one of the ladies who's been there and does these UAP tours and everything in Sedona, she said, yeah, there's a Bigfoot out there. She's got a name, it's Big Gal. Many people have seen her. And Alan got to see her out the window. And he was thrilled, of course, because it's been like 20 years he wanted to see a Bigfoot. And did you get the picture we have of it?
Oh, yeah. With the glaring eyes?
Yeah, can you show that? Or
No, I'm not capable of doing that.
Oh, okay. Well, it was in kind of the classic hunched over like a guard in a football, scrimmage line, which many people describe it being that way. And we also were playing around with the SLS camera. Are you familiar with that?
Oh, yeah.
We had it just on our phone, and we got some interesting stick figures in the main house that indicated that there was something there sitting on a cabinet, and then one sitting in a chair. So that was all quite promising. And we decided, well, let's do another investigation in the spring. This was in the fall, with a lot more equipment and more time. And so we came back, and we were able to identify, everybody said there's this one spot between the two buildings where there's a portal. And we were able to identify that was true. Did you see the pyramid shape I sent you?
Yeah, that was rather interesting too.
What we captured on that with our trail cam was maybe 30, 40, 50 orbs come pouring out of that one time. Everything was still, so they were backscattered. We got that on film. And we were able to identify through magnetic fluctuations that there was something there. Using our thermal, we could see that there was a cold spot,
mm-hmm.
and a little white thing bouncing around inside of it, which one of the scientists said was a plasmoid. And that's how these entities come through. The cold spot is because they require energy from the environment to materialize. And the downside of that is that pretty much everybody who got into that portal area got nauseated and sick in their own way. And we asked another scientist about that, and he says, well, when two different dimensional systems interact like that our biology doesn't like it. We're not adapted to it.
Now, again, too, I noticed with some of the pictures you take, were you using infrared and high ISO on some of the images?
Yeah, infrared at night, yes.
Yeah. And extreme high ISO too?
Yes.
Okay.
And so, we had some psychics there, and none of them liked being in that spot, but it wasn't there all the time. It would come and go. And it was in terms of that triangular shape, that was exact. It was essentially sitting right over that spot. And if you look at the image, you can see that it kind of extends over the building a little bit.
It does, like a energy force or something.
Yeah, I showed it to one of the forensic video photographic MUFON people, and I said, "What do you think that is?" And he says, "Oh, that's an interdimensional portal." And I said, "Say more." He says, "I can't." Whatever that means.
Now, in that area, I got to ask you a question too, Ron. Has anybody disappeared, gone missing or anything like that? Because, it's strange, like Skinwalker Ranch and different areas where portals open up or close. I mean, what happens if somebody happens to be where a portal opens up and happens to step into it?
Well, that light phenomenon I described to you before where those two men were abducted?
Yeah.
It's very much like that. They disappeared. The light disappeared and they showed up somewhere else.
But they were lucky they showed back up. I'm just wondering how many people in portals, step into one accidentally and maybe don't come back. Up here in the Northwest, up around Mount Rainier, for example, there has been reports of, hunters going out there, backpackers going out and seeing portals opening up and then a minute or two later seeing a Bigfoot.
Yeah, that's quite common in a lot of ways,
Anything?
So, I had my own Bigfoot sighting right next to a portal in Colorado. But should we stick with Bradshaw Ranch?
Well, I want to hear about your Bigfoot now because you got me excited here.
So there are these things called indigenous modified trees that were shaped kind of like bonsai trees by the Ute Indians in the Rockies.
Yes.
And they're called prayer trees or sacred trees, and their limbs are modified and move and grow in strange directions. And there are places where they take medicine out of the tree. And they've been confirmed at this one place in Bailey, Colorado. And we had experiences with in Oregon where people would touch a tree and we had a strange light phenomena show up. So I thought, well, there's this tree. I wonder, there's this thing called the Bigfoot Adventure Weekend that takes place every summer up there. So you can Google it, and if you want to have a Bigfoot Adventure Weekend, you can sign up and go there in Bailey, Colorado. My son-in-law runs it. So I had this idea. I do a meditation for the group, and then I thought, let's go over to this tree and, have people put their hands on the tree and see what happens. And most people had some kind of unusual experience. One young girl said, I kind of like traveled in an astral plane, and I said, "Did you like it?" She said, "No, I never want to do that again." Other people had, multiple kinds of experiences. So when it was all over, my son-in-law and I went and said, let's try it. So we put our hands on the tree, closed our eyes, and I waited for a while, and then I opened it up, my eyes, and behind Alan, my son-in-law, was a Bigfoot, a shadow Bigfoot. But it was clear as a bell, and I'm looking at it and looking at it, and Alan's kind of waffling in and out of existence, kind of like in the old Star Trek, transporter. And finally I said to him, "There's a creature behind you." And he said, "I know, I feel it. I've been feeling it all along." And then he described that he was kind of flipping in and out of out of a kind of interdimensional experience at the same time. So that's not Bigfoot sighting.
Yeah. Well, even at Bradshaw Ranch, too, they had a lot of weird things. I heard about there's supposed to be some, like, I don't know what type of person, but it would show up by one of the buildings doing some work and then disappear. And he wasn't, he was like from the past or something. Did you encounter that at all?
We did not. But in the main building, our last experiment was to see if we could make contact. And we had an engineer who brought his equipment that detects, strange phenomena like pulses, plasmoids, different kinds of things that he would record on his computer and in a sequence of, and then it could be printed out. And we had it all set up, and we were using the new, a new SLS camera, the actual, not the phone, but the one that was built, for Microsoft gaming systems. And we saw an entity above him messing with him, not letting him, calibrate his system. So that, and he was finally he got it going. And then this entity came all of a sudden, showed up on the platform, which was where they did some filming in there. So there's a platform in the big room. And we have it on the SLS camera. It started out, and we also put a Tesla coil because we had the idea that these people could use this plasma energy to help materialize for us. And it was like 20 feet away, and we captured this entity. It touched the computer, then it touched the Tesla coil, and then it extended 20 feet and touched both of them, which shows intelligence and awareness, right?
No, I got to ask you a question. That Tesla coil, when it touched it, did it respond to when it touched it?
It did. It just touched it. We could see it touching it, on the camera. We couldn't see it visually with our eyes, so we didn't. But you could see it on the screen.
What did that entity kind of resemble? Did it resemble anything, or was it like energy?
These are stick figures in a way, but it wasn't really in a true human form. It was it was stretched out about 20 feet long, and then it kind of after having touched the Tesla coil, it was able to materialize in what was clearly a recognizable human form. Did you get that screen grab?
Yeah, I've seen it, yes.
And it sat on this chair, and eventually I took my laser and poked at it with a green laser, and it's clear as day, the head type part of it looked down and kicked the darn laser beam. And we were able to record on the computer all this activity showing how it was there doing something.
How long was it there, the entity, when you first started observing it and recording it? How long did it last?
I would say it took place over like 20 minutes.
Interesting. So are these entities like, can you speculate what they could possibly be?
Well, they're interdimensional intelligences, which would be my guess. The fact that it could see the laser beam and kick at it shows awareness of what's going on, right?
Well, it shows intelligence, yes, and curiosity.
And awareness.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like playing for us, performing for us a little bit, saying, I'm here. So I could tell you about it right now and everybody else that's listening, that these things are there. That was about as good a proof as you could ever get.
Now, you think these entities are in certain areas, like Skinwalker Ranch or Bradshaw Ranch, or do you think they're actually everywhere?
I think we're embedded in some phenomena that's aware of us at all times. Maybe it's us. Maybe it's the future of us. But I wish I knew. It's puzzling, and maybe it's supposed to be puzzling.
Well,
Because it forces you and I to ask these questions, right? What the heck is that?
yeah, Michio Kaku told me one time that, when we die, we don't know. Maybe our energy, that's what you're seeing, is when we pass on, maybe we shed our body and then we are that type of entity. And that's, I don't know.
Or it could be our future self, coming back and for some reason, needing us to continue what we're doing, which is, creating technology that's expanding what's possible in the universe. That seems to be our purpose.
Now, Bradshaw Ranch, how about, there's reports there of UFOs, UAPs nowadays. I still call them flying discs, flying saucers, because I'm old. But I guess UAPs. I mean, there's been a lot of sightings there on that ranch of unidentified objects. What's your take on that?
Yeah, we got some of them. So if I hold up, this is the DVD. Can people see that?
Well, let me put you on the camera right there again. Yes, they can see that.
So it's called The Mysteries of Bradshaw Ranch, Aliens, Portals, and the Paranormal. If you Google that, you can see the movie. It's on YouTube Movies, doing very well. What's interesting is there's like 600 comments. You really get an idea of how diverse are the opinions of people when they see this movie. Some people see things that in the movie like, oh, there's a thing right outside the window or stuff like that. But it's quite interesting. It's doing very well. You can also, if you have Amazon Prime, you can stream it there, and it's on Tubi. It's doing gangbusters.
Oh, wow. We got a caller. Who do we have there?
This is Tom.
Hi, Tom. How are you doing tonight?
Pretty good. I have a question for your guest, and there's been a lot of conjecture about what Bigfoot is. Is it interdimensional? Is it something that basically is proffered by an alien race? I know that the Native Americans and a lot of tribes have basically stated that Bigfoot is, and they're not all the same, that some of them are benevolent, some of them are malevolent. And I just really wanted to know how or what your guest felt about there's many types of different human beings. What is his feeling about, how many different diversified types of Bigfoot there are?
Ron, your take on that?
Well, I've talked to a lot of people that have had experiences of Bigfoot of very different kinds. Many describe the thing showing up for a while and then sort of disappearing. That's the most common thing. Just evaporating, maybe appearing to go into a tree or something like that. So I would venture to guess that these things, when they show up like that, are for the individual person. They're kind of designed to change your worldview and what's possible. Shatter something, because they've been very transformational for a lot of people to have that kind of experience. Of course, for many years, a lot of these people were afraid to tell anybody about it. But now, more and more people are coming forward and describing their experiences. So I think they're a bit kind of precognitive, that they know what we're thinking. Maybe they are a form of supernatural agent in a way, which gives them those kind of special abilities to produce sounds, smells, like you mentioned to me earlier. That seems to be the most common way of describing this. And of course, people, when they describe their physical appearance, it's all over the place, from white, skinny kind of things to like the one at Bradshaw Ranch, it was kind of like a bulky football player type thing.
Now, do you have another question, Tom?
Well, I appreciate him saying what he did. And I'm hearkening back to one of your guests from Alaska that basically had some extremely negative experiences with a type of creature that was extremely malevolent, was basically carnivorous. And according to tribal lore, you did not want to find yourself toe-to-toe with one of these things because they would kill you and they would eat you.
Was that Fred you were thinking about we had on?
Yeah.
Okay. Ron, your take on that?
All I can say is, it's just one among many descriptions that people report. There's so many, and they're all kind of unique to the person. It seems like that one who sees it running across the road, that wasn't by accident; it was planned. That's my feeling. Is that there's a kind of awareness of individual minds of the experiencer, and they're showing up for them in the way they do for some reason that I'm not quite sure about. But that seems to be the pattern.
It does. Now, we need to take a final break, and then we'll be back with you, Ron, for about another 20 minutes. So let's take this break. We'll be back with Ron. You're listening to Night Dreams Talk Radio. Check out our website for more information about our guests and our guests for the rest of the week at nightdreamstalkradio.com. We'll be right back, so don't go anywhere.
To shout out loud. If you want to get up off your feet, raise your hands up in the summer heat. Feel the breeze in the sky and catch a signs one by one, you got to bang a drum. Gotta fight the rain to light a flame like a thundercloud. You got to shout out loud.
Available now. Bigfoot Origins, The Search for the Cryptid Homeland by Mike Dupler. This is the most comprehensive and in-depth examination of Bigfoot ever written. How did Bigfoot in North America, the Yowie in Australia, and the Woodwoes, Britain's Bigfoot, get to where they are today? Mike Dupler connects the dots, and the conclusions are incredible. This changes everything. Don't be left out in the woods, in the cold, not knowing. Read Bigfoot Origins, The Search for the Cryptid Homeland by Mike Dupler. Available now on Amazon. Welcome to Night Dreams Talk Radio with the legendary Gary Anderson. From UFOs to Bigfoot and everything in between, we explore the strange, the mysterious, and the unexplained. Join us for one of the fastest growing shows in the world of the unknown.
And the wacky, too. I'll tell you, that is, one of the things I like about the show. The voiceover actor, Eric, who's a good friend of mine, I'll tell you, he does great work, and I want to give a plug to him. Well, we're back, Ron, again, like with Bigfoot and stuff like this. A lot of people, and then we'll get back to Bradshaw Ranch. When it comes to Bigfoot, a lot of people for years, like Ron Moorhead, insisted they were flesh and blood. And then after a certain amount of years go by, they get frustrated. And then they come back and say, well, maybe they're from a parallel universe, or they're mystic or something else. What is your take on it?
I agree with him. Matt Moneymaker, he changed his mind this year.
Is it because people get frustrated, or we just don't have the answers?
Well, I think they have experiences they can't explain. So, what is the movie? The series with Expedition Bigfoot?
Right.
I know the people there, the on-camera people, and when I talk to them, they all have had experiences of weird crap, that they can't put on the show because, if they actually did, that would not fall in line with the showrunner's idea of what the show series is supposed to be about.
Yeah, it's just a lot of things. Again, I keep thinking of, Michio Kaku. He said we're so close to cracking the next dimension, and where then parallels, universes, and portals would all exist. And as soon as we crack it, that'll be the proof that we need. Or maybe all these things, again, Bigfoot, UFOs, and a lot of other strange things seem to appear like with portals and weird stuff.
That's true. Hey, I could tell you a story of a time slip we had at Bradshaw.
Oh, yeah, please do.
So we were, I mentioned Tom Dongo, who was one of the original investigators, and we were going to do our night exploration after eating in Sedona. And he said, what time? I asked him, what time should we get out there? He said, be there at 7. So we thought, well, okay. And we had driven there multiple times, and it takes roughly a half hour from the paved highway to get to Bradshaw on these gravel roads, okay? And we met our guest, the person who was, was our eyes on the site when we were not there, and our guide at 6:30. And I know that because we texted, and he jumped from his vehicle to our big SUV, and we started driving. And you should never get lost going there, because if you don't turn, you just stay on the road straight, you'll end up there at Bradshaw Ranch. But somehow we ended up driving in a place we had no idea where we were. We were seeing strange buildings. Everybody was saying, oh my God, this is so weird. We were feeling strange, and eventually we almost drove off a ledge. It was quite scary. And then in some way, the driver backed up, pulled over. We were up back on the main road, and we arrived at Bradshaw Ranch at 7 o'clock, like we were supposed to. And we had the sophisticated GPS system on our thing, and we could look at it, and we had driven around in kind of like a spaghetti fashion for a half hour. And so, in one sense, I'm a half hour older than I am normally. We all experienced it. And I talked to this one woman who's one of the grand dams of near-death experiences. And I told her about this. She said, oh, yeah, I can control that. I was told by aliens that I had to write 3 books. I got to write the 3rd one. I did the first 2. She says, I can just get this extra time and write it and get it done in a month. So that's a tremendous time slip. That was really cool.
But
it was scary. But, here we are. We did all that, and we arrived exactly at the time we were supposed to.
Time slips or whatever. I have only experienced one in my life. I'm not going to go really into it because my regular listeners know what it is. But years ago, I went with my sons going up to Mount Rainier to a place to take photographs. And when I was a kid, my parents and my grandparents would get into his Nash, and we would head up towards Clearview or whatever that is up at Mount Rainier. And there was a cafe we used to stop at, and they'd have coffee and I'd have my soda. And that was quite often, believe it or not, when you're a little kid crammed in the backseat of a Nash with two adults. It's not comfortable. Well, anyway, we were going up there, and there was a reader board on the side of the road. It said hamburger and soda, $1. So, my two kids with me, the first thing, hey, Dad, let's go into this place. We went into the place, and everybody was dressed like 20 years out of style. Mm-hmm. All the cars in the parking lot were 20 years out of style. And what we ate, but people were staring at us, and I felt uncomfortable. I was looking at them. They were like looking at us. When we left, I just had a weird, eerie feeling. A week later, I wanted to go back and get more pictures of this one waterfall. My kids said, hey, I want to go. I like those hamburgers. So we went, and we're on that same road, and I went down there, and we were going to stop. It wasn't there. I went up and down that road numerous times. It wasn't there. I do remember like it was some building that burnt down. It was often about the same location, but that cafe wasn't there. I stopped at the little store there by the state park, and I went in there and I said, hey, last week, just down the road, about a mile or 2 miles down the road, there was this cafe. It had hamburgers for $1 and a reader board. The lady turned bright red. And she said that place burnt down years ago. So I don't know if these time slips are in and out or whatever it is, but I'll tell you, that's an eerie feeling.
It was, but it was cool.
I just always wondered what happened if we didn't leave.
Is that they're, by our normal, at least my normal worldview, impossible. And of course, impossible by the Class A mechanistic, material world of physics, and probably, impossible by most, traditional religions. They're just impossible, right?
That's what I would think.
But yet they happen anyhow, don't they?
Yeah, it's really eerie. Like what you experience and stuff. I bet you think about that occasionally, don't you? Because you thought about it tonight.
All the time.
Yeah.
And it's a mystery to me, and I think maybe it's supposed to be a mystery.
I will say this, and we'll get back to Bradshaw Ranch. When that happened to me, it gave me years later, I started thinking, what happens, or what would have happened if we would have stayed there longer? Could we have been trapped in a different time? That's the eerie part. Whatever was existing wasn't existing, but it existed.
Yes, it's hard to wrap your mind around it, isn't it?
Yeah. God,
we're not set up to deal with that conceptually and emotionally.
I didn't want to start off in the 50s over again,
Well, it might have been better.
Yeah, could have been, but that'd be Lotto. I don't know. Bradshaw Ranch has
Sure.
a lot of UFO sightings, don't they?
They do. UAP crafts as well. UAPs being sort of a light phenomenon.
Right.
More
like orbs?
Yeah. And we got a few of those in the movie. Sometimes, we don't realize we have them until I review the footage and say, oh my God, there's a light tracking us.
Did you feel like they were trying to communicate at all when you were filming them?
Did I? I had an intuition that I had to do these things, and they would show up. That they were directing me to set this stuff up so that this stuff would occur, and I could make a movie about it and show people.
It seems like
Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, but it seems like some of this when you really think about it, there's a place in Nevada called Big Rock, and Howard Hughes invested money into it. Interesting place. It was like one of the first places that had mass sightings of UFOs, where, first that was a couple dozen people, then hundreds of people, and then thousands of people would come to this area, and they would experience these orbs and UFOs, and that went on for years. And this was back, I think, the late 50s, early 60s, and it was rather interesting. I talked to the grandson of the person that was connected to the original, the ranch.
Yeah, there seem to be these places that I called them paranormal hotspots. I did a series called The Paranormal Highway, where I traveled to 6 of these, and to see if at least 3 things that were inexplicable would show up, and they always did.
So they had 3 things at least were in common with each other?
That, that would be out of the ordinary. So, like strange lights would show up, rocks would fall for no reason, just sometimes it would be a ghost phenomena would show up. Yeah. A time slip would occur. They weren't always the same, but you could kind of group them, and categorize them in some way, that this is this kind of thing, this is that kind of thing. This is like a Bigfoot experience, a felt sense, of something.
Well, going to even Skywalker Ranch, there's supposed to be an area there. It has a energy field in it. Did any of these other places you go to had like a energy field or anything like that involved with it?
Well, certainly Broad Camp, Crystal Mine. I told you where the abduction took place. We were also staying at a place in Oklahoma where we had interesting experiences. The last one we had, I do this kind of primitive chant that seems to move us and the people there into a kind of altered state of union with each other. And as we were leaving, we were sitting around a fire ring with no fire, and there were deciduous trees with nice leaves, and they were probably 2.5 stories tall. And as we were walking back to go to the car, something came crashing through the tops of the trees. And for me, I was the last one in an arc. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wasn't straight. It wasn't falling. It was going parallel to the ground through the trees in the top, and then crashed down with a huge thud right in front of 2 people, shaking the ground. And they heard it too. And the cameraman who was going back to the cabin said he heard the thud, but he didn't hear the crashing through the trees. He thought somebody had fallen, probably me, because I'm old. And when we looked around, there was no evidence of anything that it could have been. Although it was like falling about maybe 3 or 4 feet in front of the first person. Could have killed us, probably, if we wanted to. Ron Moorhead had an experience like that up there at Sierra Camp, too.
Yeah.
Where something hit a tree like that, shook the tree. They could never find out what it was.
Well, with Ron Moorhead, because I've had him on quite a few times through the years, one of the guys that was with him, this is back when I had him and another person on, back probably around 2020, they had the recorder going. And when they played it back in the morning, they heard like a car door opening and closing and a trunk opening and closing. Now, where his camp was that they had to go in there with mules, backpack into it a long distance.
Yeah.
No roads around there, no nothing.
So again, all these impossible events, huh?
I don't know. Maybe there's hot spots all over everywhere.
Yes.
You have people missing, the series of books, the 411. People missing in the national forest that go missing. Maybe again it's all tied into like these portals, like Skinwalker Ranch or Bradshaw Ranch and all these other places all over the world. There's places that open and close. Have you ever wanted to go and investigate in other countries these type of same things that's happening with them?
I would, but there's so many around here. You can only do so much.
Yeah, but
you mean David Pilates? Have you had him on?
No. He doesn't like me.
So, he's flipped too to the paranormal. I was there when he did it. It was quite interesting. I was speaking at a conference, and he and one of the guys from Expedition Bigfoot and Cliff Barackman and Pilates were on one side, and the moderator of the kickoff panel discussion, myself, and Bob Gimlin and my son-in-law were on the other, and I kind of was, saying, no, I think these things are not physical. I think they're paraphysical in some way. And he saw right away that we could get a little fight going between us, the two sides. Bob Gimlin was patting me on the legs, encouraging me to keep going. And all of a sudden, Pilates said, I agree with Ron. I've changed my mind. Everybody was shocked. But I think it had to do with trauma. His son had committed suicide. And we talked later after that. And, events like that can change you. So it was quite dramatic to have him flip like that, because he was never that way. Now he's pretty openly that way. So everybody's shifting.
I think so, because, again, everything from UAPs to Bigfoot to orbs to you name it, a ghost, all this stuff. I mean, people are, I think what's happening is they're getting frustrated. We don't have answers, and therefore we don't know what it is and how it's happening. Boy, Ron, our time went by so fast. You were such an intriguing guest. Do you have a website you can share? And again, if you want to hold up your latest video where people can see it and where they can buy it and all that?
Well, mostly people don't buy DVDs anymore, but you can order it off the internet. It's for sale on Amazon. But the movie, you can watch it for free if you have it. Well, on Tubi with commercials, or YouTube movie for free. But if you have Amazon Prime, you can stream it, which was pretty unusual because they pretty much curated it off anything like this, these days, an independent production like that. So it was cool that it's on there streaming for free if you have Prime.
Well, I do. And I know a lot of people do. I know my son has, because he's buying Amazon stuff right and left. Again, do you have a website or anything you want to share?
All I have is a Facebook page called the Bigfoot Chronicles. If people want to get in touch with me for that.
Okay. Ron, is there anything you want to say to the viewers and listeners before I let you go?
So I think, one of the things you should do is to decide to take up something that's creative, some little project that's creative, and then observe how it progresses. So like, you could just rearrange your room in a way that's more artistic or fascinating, and study the process of creating something, because I think that's what all this is pushing us forward to, is to create and expand our imagination. Because what all these things do is, they're really challenging our imagination, right, of what's possible.
Well, it sure is. Okay, Ron, I want to thank you for coming on and all that stuff. I know your friend was going to come on with you, but he wasn't feeling good. And
Yep.
I do appreciate you coming on. You told us a lot about, Bradshaw Ranch and all this stuff. And it just proves that there's a lot of things in this world we still don't understand.
And maybe nobody does.
Well, maybe when we go on to the next, we might understand what it is all about.
Yeah, I think that's quite possible.
Okay, Ron, you have a good one, will you? And thank you so much.
It's been great. Good
Okay, my
talking
friend.
to you, Gary.
Okay, you take care.
Bye.
Well, JC, think about all that. I mean, if you really think about like Bradshaw Ranch, Skinwalker Ranch, and there's a whole bunch of other areas all around this country, and not just around the country, around the world. What do you think is going on? And if anybody wants to call in and give me their input, go ahead. The line is open. You can give us a call. That's why we have all these phone lines now. Just don't leave it up to Tom. Anybody else can call in too. But if you really think about it, what do you think, JC? What do you think is going on?
Well, I think there is a lot of hot spots scattered throughout the world, several in the United States. Bradshaw, Skinwalker, there's a couple in the Southeast. There's a couple more in the Midwestern country. I was talking about last week, there was a road in an area not far from me, about 15 miles, that it was so... They've had sightings of everything from ghosts to UFOs to Bigfoots, cryptids, weird cryptids, zombies, you name it. That the road is closed, but there's nothing wrong with the road, so go figure.
Yeah, but if you think about these, are these, like when Michio Kaku was on, is that like the next dimension? Are they coming through our dimension? It was like some type of slips.
Yeah. And think about it. If you're out in one of these areas, because you don't know, there's no big neon sign saying beware, this is a time slip area or a portal may open. If you're out there hunting or something, say something comes through from, prehistoric, like maybe, I don't know, a giant pterodactyl grabs you and goes back in the portal, you're part of the missing.
Well, just think about that. Look at what happened when I went into the cafe with my sons.
Yeah.
You might not be talking to me because I would be stuck probably in the late 60s by now.
Yeah, you'd be well over 100. You'd be a centurion.
Yeah, or something.
Yeah, you'd be old.
Yeah, we had a caller, and I think we lost him. Are you there? Now they're gone. If you think about it, it's interesting. Again, what is going on? Why are there hot spots? We used to have a person that used to call in all the time. I can't remember their name, but they lived up on Mount Rainier, and they claimed they would go out on their property up by Mount Rainier, deep on the mountain, and they would see portals open up and Bigfoot would be coming out of it. You remember that guy?
Yeah, there's a few reports. Matter of fact, the one owner of Skinwalker Ranch, what was his name? Shepherds or something? Anyway, they'd reported, and they even filmed something. And this portal, there was two portals. One of them was like on the ground, one was in the air, but they filmed stuff coming out of one. Matter of fact, the one report, some kind of cryptid came out of the thing. It was weird and bizarre.
Yeah, this makes you really open your eyes up. What is going on? Just like to think about the 411. Even the gentleman who, has been everywhere but my show, right? Has, like we just heard, flipped from being maybe reality, flesh and blood to whatever is going on to something else. I don't know. We just don't have answers, do we?
No, it's funny with that 411. There's a lot of data points or checkpoints, like rock outcroppings and water and all these different things. All check the boxes with that line up and coincide with all these disappearances. So, are these things all kind of coincide with maybe areas where portals open up? Because listen, these people, as you know, they disappear without a trace.
They do. Well, let's see if we got the caller there. Do we have you there?
Yeah, you got me. Hi, Gary. It's Art.
Oh, well, Art, how are you doing, my friend?
My friend, I was on the line with you, listening to you a while ago. That I thought I'd hang up and call back again.
Well, you're on right now.
Yeah. Well. No. This your guest. I feel like just like him, and everything you say too. we call that synchronicity. It just, you're hitting everything. It's just, I don't know how to express my energy in my mind and my body. It's just absorbing all this information that there's others like us out there that have these, experiences. But for my question was too, again, was in this, whatever it is out there has a connection to us in our minds. And that's what really gets me right now in my life is they must know to hear what we think, or they can put us out. And I've had experience where I'd put out and then I woke up and didn't even know the time was missing. So those experiences are like some type of connection. Are we, maybe not all of us, but we have that ability to connect to these objects, orbs, and ghosts, shadow people. They seem to have the same effect to know who you are in a way, or to be present, to come out when you're not doing very much. You're out there doing something and they just appear in front of you. The experience of feeling that connection with them when you do meet up with these things. But they all seem familiar, from the paranormal to the UFOs and other things, the cryptids. You seem that they know that your presence, or being there for that reason. That was my question to him, if that was something that he experienced, where they know him and they come to him and they, the synchronicity, is that part of all of it together. That's what I feel it is.
Well, Art, think about this. Some people have the ability to see the future or the past. The ability to, like psychics, mediums, and even remote viewers that are capable of doing things that the average person can't do. They evidently, have the ability to maybe to communicate with these, whatever they are. And the thing is, we just don't understand it because, our brain is so far advanced. We're still learning about the human brain and activity of, energy, and like, where do we go when we die? We don't just stop existence. We go into another realm. Again, maybe certain people have this ability to connect with this type of thing. Everything from ghost hunters who see ghosts when other people don't see ghosts. Now, JC, you're out there. You're been featured on documentaries about ghost hunting. Haven't you noticed certain people are more adept to being able to see this stuff where other people don't?
Oh yeah, definitely. Over the years of research and investigating, I always say that everybody has abilities, just like everybody can play basketball, but not everybody can be Michael Jordan. So yeah, some people have more in tune, I guess you could say, to certain abilities, or especially if you're in a high strangeness area, you could really get all kind of downloads, or whatever you want to call it, coming in.
No, too, Art, I think you're I know where you live, from your messages back and forth with me. Again, maybe you're in a hot spot where you, again, have the ability to notice this, where the average person would never even look up the sky at that particular moment, where you do.
Right. And no, but your show and your guests, they seem to have those experiences, and even yourself, and the wordings on your show just resonate. So it only assures me that yes, there are some of us, because there's others that don't listen or don't understand it. But I kind of feel that, how do you say, when he was speaking, your guest today was having his episodes of everything that he had, I had, except I've never seen a Bigfoot, but it's the same.
You don't want to, Art. You don't want to see a Bigfoot. You don't want to.
Well, in the sense that I would love to know more. I love it. I love the subject, and I believe it. But but I try to put a correlation to all the things that grab our mind's attention, that that they feel you, that you can feel them, or there was some sort of communication. in that when I see these objects or ghosts or anything, they're communicating in a way with just being there, looking or speaking, physical, not in the dreams and in broad daylight or whatever, and can do things like put people out in front of me, like make people just move, and like all these little things that go on just seem to be all the same. So like a high power of something that could listen to us talking right now to each other and knowing what we're doing. And it's something odd to know that that's where the level I'm at is a point that there's something there. It's always there. I think you mentioned that too. Like they're always in front of us, but sometimes it takes that moment where they appear from some kind of energy or, a thought or meditation or something. It's just extremely so much, and many years for me. I got over 50 years of this stuff. All the things that are strange, but they all have one similarity. They seem to have a communication of knowing who I am, to know what he was, or what he's doing. And so I feel that that's a correlation of equality. I wanted to share one more thing. I went to a MUFON, and I went to a MUFON meeting, and there was Barry Silver. He was from Ghost Hunters International, and he said that they correlated that infrared was bringing demonical entities, and infragreen was bringing angelic entities. So that was very interesting tonight when they were saying they're using infrared and all these cameras. So just to share with that was amazing, because we did have not too long ago on a radio where the Hubble, I think it's the Hubble satellite that's going way out there with the infrared camera. And I heard that on the news, and I said, oh, wow, I'm correlating what Barry Silver said to what the radio was saying that we're having. So are we going to be attracting something evil out there, or just thought I'd bring that up?
Well, we might already have the evil thing, but I'm not going to go there. But hey, Art, I want to thank you.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you so much, for coming on, and the number. You're welcome to call anytime during the show. Now, we do have 2 numbers. Art, you stay out of trouble, will you?
Oh, I will. And I got my friends listening, so I hope to hear from them tonight about what we went through. All right. Thank you.
Okay, my friend. You take care.
Okay. Bye-bye. Bye.
Think about that, JC. Think, what is going on? Why are some people able to see this stuff? Are they more in depth with nature or with the world around them, or what? Why are some people noticing this stuff where other people don't?
I just always feel that some are just more in tune. Maybe they're born with it. Some, I do believe it runs in the families. And then I think that some land, especially if you're in a high strangeness area and you got a little bit more abilities than other people, I think you're going to be getting some visions or something. You're going to witness or experience a little more stuff than the average person, I would believe.
Yeah, interesting. Who's our guest tomorrow, and who's our Friday's guest we have on the show?
Well, tomorrow we have Mr. Glenn Steckling coming on, and you guys are going to be talking about what's going on with the disclosure that they're supposed to be coming up with next week. Is it going to be some flim flams, smoke and mirrors, or what's going on?
Well, again, I do a lot of research on this disclosure. It seems like, they really hype people up, right? People get so excited. Oh, they're going to do this, they're going to do that. And then when it happens, it's kind of a letdown. But the people who want to believe in it so much, they're excited. But I haven't heard anything new that I haven't been hearing for 50 years, other than you got a small group of Congress people and you have other people out there. Because if it wasn't for the internet, all this stuff wouldn't be going on. Let's face it, because now it's everywhere. So people are more into it.
Yeah, that's true.
But Friday, who do we have?
Well, Friday, let me tell you this. We've got 2 guests. The first guest is Mr. Jim Quirk. Now, he did an in-depth, very intensive research on the Las Vegas alien UFO incident that happened in the family's backyard, Gary.
Oh, yeah. The one that was everywhere on TikTok and YouTube and all that back, maybe about a year and a half ago.
About a year ago. Yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting too. What was that?
Yeah, and they were 10-foot tall ones, aliens.
Yeah, that's going to be really interesting too. And then my dear friend Ruta Lee,
Yes.
seven whatever, various movies she's been in. Everything from paranormal space movies to Andy Griffith Show and all these other TV and movies and all that stuff. One of the last people that have grace in the entertainment business. It has totally changed. And she's always fun to have on, and she's a friend of mine.
Yeah, she's a very classy lady. I loved her in the Mavericks, and that's Seven Brides for Seven.
Seven Brides for Seven Brothers.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. I liked how they shipped her all across the country in a bathing suit. You know that. To promote the movie.
I seen the documentary about that movie and how she got it and what all the things she had to go through. You should ask her. She went through torture to promote that. She actually went on the road across the country to promote that.
Yeah. So that's going to be a great show. Again, to the people out there, I hope you're enjoying the show. We've been tweaking with the show more. As you know, we're on now at 7 p.m. starting, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific time. And we're on a little bit longer, and we're trying to make the show a little bit more fun. So I hope you're enjoying it. And please, it's very important to leave a comment. Please, after the end of the show, go onto our channel and onto tonight's episode and leave a comment. It's very important you do that. And if you're new, make sure you hit that bell, subscribe to our channel, and give us a thumbs up, because our sponsors look at that. And that's how we actually paid the light bill. I almost had to start the show tonight with candles, but then I realized I can't run computers with the candles.
No, that's hard to do.
I know. I have to get more hamsters.
Yeah.
I in the other room, I just want to be honest with you. I have 132 hamsters, and on their wheels, it's tied into a generator.
You got to get one of them extended wheels.
But it's a lot cheaper than paying the power bill, because all I have to do is pay them by peanuts.
Yeah, little guys.
Yeah. Boy, what can I say? Well, everybody, I want to again thank you for tuning in. Till tomorrow, everybody have a good one. We will catch you on the other side, I think. Now I just got to figure out which mouse does what. Everybody have a good one. We'll catch you on the other side.
Who's friends with all the night dreamers, talking to you at night? Gary on the radio, but maybe he's not in sight. Bigfoot's on his tail, flying UFOs, that's right. Gary's Talk Show Radio, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday nights. If you need a friend to talk to, he will always be there. The Night Dreamers Talk Show will fix your despair. If you want to talk conspiracies, Night Dreamers is for you. Top secret case, alien space, it's Gary with the news. Tune in on the radio, don't let Big Brother know. They're listening to everything, even Gary's late night show. If you need a friend to talk to, he will always be there. The Night Show Dreamers Talk Show will fix your despair, because Gary's talking to you at night.
If you're not watching Night Dreams Talk Radio with Gary, go to YouTube and subscribe now.
Why are you not watching Night Dreams Talk Radio